The council chamber fell silent as first speaker Talmira entered. Her silver feathers drooped with exhaustion. She had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. The holographic display showed the truth they all feared. Red markers covered 40% of Valorian space. Each marker represented a world conquered by the Krevnash swarm. Each marker meant billions of dead. "We are losing," Council Member Vren stated. His voice carried no emotion. They were past emotion now. "The swarm takes another system every week. Our fleets cannot stop them." Talmira looked at the faces around the table. 3 species sat together in this chamber. The Valorians with their feathered crests. The Meln with their scaled hides. The Torvik with their thick fur. All of them peaceful. All of them herbivores. All of them dying. "The military reports are clear," Admiral Keth said. He was Meln. His scales pale with stress. "We lack the aggression to fight the Krevnash. They are predators. We are not. Every battle becomes a massacre." "Then we have one option left," Talmira said quietly. "The beacon." The chamber erupted. Half the council stood, shouting objections. The beacon was forbidden. The beacon was dangerous. The beacon was a myth. Talmira raised her hand. Slowly, the council members sat. "Tell us again what the beacon does," Vren said. "The truth this time, not the legends." An old Torvik named Salm shuffled forward. He was a historian, keeper of the oldest records. The precursors left it 10,000 years ago. Before they vanished, the records say they seeded the galaxy with many species. Some were made to be protectors, warriors, guardians. "Predators, you mean?" someone muttered. Salm nodded. "Yes, predators." The precursors knew that peaceful species would need protection, so they created balance. The beacon was meant to call these protector species when danger came, and we have never used it because we fear what might answer, Talmira said. "We fear predators more than death itself." She looked around the chamber. "But now we must choose, die as ourselves, or live by trusting the unknown." The vote took 3 hours. In the end, fear of extinction outweighed fear of predators. The motion passed. 2 days later, Talmira stood in the ancient facility. It sat on a moon orbiting Valoria Prime. The precursors had built it into the rock itself. The walls hummed with power that had waited for millennia. The beacon stood in the center of a vast chamber. It was a pillar of black metal that reached toward the ceiling. Symbols covered its surface. Some they had translated. Most remained mysteries. "We have prepared the message," a technician said. She was young, her feathers still bright. "It follows the format in the old records. Coordinates of our worlds. Description of the threat. Request for military intervention. Send it," Talmira ordered. The technician's hands shook as she activated the beacon. Light flooded the chamber, so bright that Talmira had to look away. The pillar vibrated. The symbols glowed. Then a pulse of energy shot upward, through the rock, into space. The beacon had sent its call across the stars. "How long until someone answers?" Talmira asked. The technician checked her instruments. "The records say the nearest protector species should receive the signal in 3 weeks. They could arrive in 2 months if they come immediately." 2 months, Talmira whispered. "Will we last that long?" No one answered. What they did not know was that the beacon was broken. Not completely, it still functioned. It still sent its message. But the targeting system had failed long ago. Cosmic radiation had corrupted the ancient circuits. The list of protector species was scrambled. The message did not go to the intended recipients. Instead, it traveled to a world the precursors had marked with red warnings in their databases. A world they had studied and then deliberately avoided. The warning label read, "Quarantine Zone. Species designation, human. Escalation risk, unacceptable. Do not make contact." Do not integrate. Do not engage. The precursors had been very clear. Humanity was too dangerous to include in their careful plans, but the beacon did not care about old warnings. It only knew its purpose. Send the message. Call for help. 3 weeks later, the research vessel Zhenghe drifted through empty space near the edge of human territory. It was a small ship, designed for long-range scanning. Captain Sarah Okonkwo sat in her chair on the bridge, reading reports. It was boring work. She liked boring work. Boring meant safe. Captain, the communications officer called out. I'm picking up something strange. Clued. Sarah looked up. Strange how? It's a signal. Very powerful. Very old. Not human origin. The officer's fingers danced across her console. It's some kind of message. The computer is translating now. The main screen flickered. Text appeared in English. Sanctuary worlds under siege. Immediate military intervention required. Coordinates attached. Requesting response from designated protector species. Sarah read it twice. Then she checked the coordinates. Where is this coming from? 1. Coming rain. About 40 light-years from here, Captain. The signal is directed specifically at us. At Earth. That doesn't make sense, Sarah said. We've never made contact with aliens before. How would they know to call us? The officer shrugged. No idea, Captain. But the message is clear. Someone out there is asking for military help, and they think we're supposed to provide it. Sarah stared at the screen. She thought about Earth's history. The wars. The violence. The centuries of humans. Fighting humans. She thought about what humanity had become after finally achieving peace. A species that explored the stars, hoping to find friends among them. Get me high command, she said quietly. Tell them we've made first contact. And someone out there is in trouble. She looked at the coordinates again. 40 light-years. 2 months by jump drive. Someone's about to have a very bad day, she muttered. Question is, who? The Valorian defense station hung in orbit above their colony world of Tarsus 3. Inside, First Speaker Talmira waited with her diplomatic team. 2 months had passed since they sent the beacon's call. 2 months of losing ground to the Krevnash swarm. But yesterday, sensors had detected ships entering their space. Ships using jump technology they did not recognize. Ships that broadcast one simple message. We received your distress call. We are here. To help. They are coming out of jump now, the station commander announced. The view screen activated. Talmira's breath caught in her throat. 5 ships materialized against the stars. They were sleek and dark, covered in angular armor. Weapons bristled from their hulls. These were warships. Real warships, built by a species that understood violence. Open a channel, Talmira ordered. Her voice shook only slightly. The screen changed. A face appeared. Talmira's feathers flattened against her skull in instinctive fear. Forward-facing eyes. Flat face. Visible teeth. Smooth skin with no protective scales or fur. This was a predator. An apex hunter. Every instinct in Talmira's body screamed at her to run. This is Captain Sarah Okonkwo of the Earth vessel Zhenghe, the human said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. We received your distress signal. We've brought support. A full battle group is 2 weeks behind us. Talmira forced herself to speak. I am First Speaker Talmira of the Valorian Empire. We thank you for coming. But I must ask, are you the protector species the beacon was meant to contact? Sarah's expression changed. We're not sure about that. We've never heard of this beacon before. But you called for help. So here we are. That's what humans do. Over the next hours, they exchanged information. Talmira explained about the Krevnash, about the conquered worlds, about billions dead. Sarah listened carefully, taking notes. Tell me about these Krevnash, Sarah said. What kind of species are they? Predators, Talmira answered. Like Like your people. They are strong, aggressive. They do not negotiate. They only conquer. Something flickered in Sarah's eyes. Like my people, she repeated softly. I see. She leaned forward. First speaker, I need you to understand something. Yes, humans evolved as hunters. Yes, we have forward-facing eyes and eat meat. But that doesn't make us monsters. We left those instincts behind a long time ago. Did you? Talmira asked quietly. Your ships are very heavily armed. Because sometimes you need strength to protect the weak, Sarah replied. That's different from using strength to prey on them. The cultural exchange did not go well. Every human habit terrified the Valorians. The way humans smiled, showing teeth. The way they stood so tall and confident. The way they moved with predatory grace. When Sarah mentioned that Earth had something called world wars, the Valorian diplomatic team nearly fled the station. You fought wars that covered your entire planet? Vren asked in horror. Multiple times? Sarah nodded. Yes. We were very good at killing each other. That's why we're so good at killing others when necessary. We learned from experience. The Valorians exchanged terrified glances. Meanwhile, the Krevnash had detected the human ships. Hive Commander Zek studied the scanning reports with growing satisfaction. New prey had arrived. Weak-looking creatures, with soft skin. They would break easily. They call themselves humans, his intelligence officer reported. Biological scans show they are persistence hunters. Moderate strength, significant endurance, but lacking natural weapons. Another prey species pretending to be strong, Zek decided. Send a raiding pack to the nearest human ship. We will teach them their place. 3 Krevnash destroyers approached the human frigate Carson. The Krevnash broadcast their challenge. They would board the human ship. The humans would surrender or die. Captain Rodriguez of the Carson responded. Negative. You are ordered to withdraw, or we will defend ourselves. The Krevnash laughed. Prey giving orders to predators. Foolish. They docked with the Carson's hull and cut through. 50 Krevnash warriors poured into the human ship. They were large creatures, covered in chitinous armor, with 4 arms ending in claws. They expected to find frightened prey. Instead, they found Sergeant Marcus Webb and his Marine squad waiting in the corridor. Light them up, Webb ordered. The humans opened fire. The Krevnash had never experienced human combat doctrine. Humans used coordinated fire teams. Overlapping fields of fire. Tactical retreats to prepared positions. They fought smart, not brave. More importantly, humans protected their wounded. When a Marine went down, 2 others dragged him to safety, while the rest provided cover. This made no sense to the Krevnash. Why waste warriors on the injured? The battle lasted 17 minutes. All 50 Krevnash died. 3 humans were wounded. None were killed. Webb's helmet camera recorded everything. Earth Command immediately distributed the footage to all human ships and sent copies to the Valorians. Hive Commander Zek watched the footage in his command chamber. He watched his warriors die. He watched the humans fight with cold efficiency. He watched them refuse to break, even when outnumbered. Then he saw something that made his blood run cold. A wounded human, bleeding badly, had grabbed a Krevnash warrior and detonated a grenade, killing them both rather than allow his enemy to advance. This species fights like they have nothing to lose, Zek whispered. They trade their lives without hesitation. They grow more dangerous when injured. They never retreat from wounded comrades. He sent an urgent message to the Swarm Queens. Abort the conquest. We have encountered an extinction-class species. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Minus starting. Leave. IMC. We have in con. Abort. The conquest is not. The Queen's response came quickly. Impossible. No prey species can threaten the swarm. Press the attack. Teach them fear. Zek looked at the human footage again. At Sergeant Webb, standing over his wounded marines, weapon ready, daring any Krevnash to come closer. "You fools," Zek said quietly. "They already know fear. They know it intimately. That's why they're so dangerous. They learned to fight despite their fear. And now they're teaching us what true predators look like." On the defense station, Talmira watched the same footage. She saw the humans fight, saw them bleed, saw them protect each other. "They're just like the Krevnash," Vren said. "Violent, brutal." "No," Talmira said slowly. "The Krevnash kill because they enjoy it. The humans kill because they must. There's a difference." She thought about Captain Okonkwo's words, about strength used to protect instead of to prey. "I think," Talmira said quietly, "we may have summoned something worse than predators." "What's worse than predators?" Vren asked. Talmira looked at the screen, at the humans standing firm over their fallen. "Protectors," she whispered. 3 months into the war, Admiral James Chen stood on the bridge of the battleship Washington and studied the tactical displays. Humanity had committed a full fleet, 20 warships, 30,000 marines, supply chains stretching back to Earth. The Valorians could not understand it. "Why are you building bases?" First Speaker Talmira asked during a strategy meeting. "Why establish supply depots? The Krevnash are here. Now. Fight them. Now." Admiral Chen smiled patiently. He had explained this 3 times already. "Because wars are not won in single battles," First Speaker. "Wars are won through logistics, supply lines, sustained pressure. We're settling in for a long campaign." "But your people are dying," Talmira protested. "Yes," Chen agreed. "That's what happens in war. But we accept that. We plan for it. And we make sure their deaths mean something." The human approach baffled both sides. The Krevnash expected quick, brutal battles. Instead, the humans built fortified positions. They dug trenches. They established fallback points and rally locations. They acted like they planned to be here for years. What confused the Valorians even more was how humans treated civilians. Lieutenant Maria Santos led a rescue operation on Tarsus 3. The Krevnash controlled half the planet. Millions of Valorian civilians were trapped behind enemy lines. The Valorian military had written them off as losses. Maria's team went in anyway. 20 Marines in drop pods, landing in an occupied city. Their mission: extract as many civilians as possible. "Why are you doing this?" a young Valorian named Peck asked as Maria hustled him toward the evacuation point. "We are nothing to you. You barely know us." Maria looked at him. "You called for help. We came. That's enough." They saved 4,000 civilians from that city alone. Maria lost 3 Marines doing it. At the memorial service, she stood before their coffins and spoke to the gathered Valorians. "These people died for strangers," she said simply. "Because that's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even if we just met them yesterday." The human psychological operations team was just as confusing. Captain David Kumar led the PsyOps unit. His job was to wage war without bullets. He broadcast messages into Krevnash territory. "You are being lied to. Your queens send you to die. For what? Resources you will never see. Glory that means nothing when you're dead. We offer you an alternative. Surrender. We will treat you fairly." The Krevnash had never encountered propaganda before. They did not understand it. But the seeds of doubt began to grow. Kumar also broadcast to occupied Valorian populations. "Hold on. We are coming. Do not give up hope. Tell the Krevnash that humans do not abandon their friends." "Are the Valorians our friends?" Kumar's assistant asked. "We just met them." "One." Kumar shrugged. "We're fighting for them, aren't we? That makes them friends. That's how humans work. We pack bond with anyone who needs us." The truth of that statement became clear on every world the humans liberated. Marines adopted Valorian war orphans as unit mascots. Engineers stayed behind after battles to help rebuild homes. Medics treated Valorian civilians with the same care as human soldiers. Sergeant Webb, now somewhat famous for the boarding action, found a young Valorian child crying in the rubble of a destroyed city. The child's parents were dead. Webb picked her up, carried her to safety, and somehow she became part of his squad. "This is Pip," Webb told his Marines. "She's ours now. Anyone wants to hurt her goes through us." The child rode in their transport, ate their rations, slept in their barracks. The Marines taught her human songs. She taught them Valorian words. When reporters asked why, Webb looked confused. "Why wouldn't we take care of her?" he asked. "She needed help." The Krevnash made their fatal mistake on the planet Valor II. They captured 300 Valorian prisoners. They brought them to the city square. They executed them on live broadcast, sending the feed to both Valorian and human fleets. "This is what happens to those who resist," the Krevnash commander announced. "Surrender or watch your people die." The human response was not what anyone expected. Admiral Chen called an emergency meeting. His face was carved from stone. "As of this moment, we are no longer accepting Krevnash surrender. No prisoners, no mercy. They want brutality. We'll show them what human brutality looks like." "Admiral," Talmira protested. That is what predators do." "Yes," Chen said quietly. "It is. And they need to learn that humans can be the worst predators of all when you hurt our friends." The next battle was at Valor II. The human fleet surrounded the planet. Marines dropped from orbit, and they showed no mercy. The Krevnash had awakened something terrible in humanity. Not bloodlust, not rage. Something colder, something more frightening. They had awakened human spite. When the destroyer Defiant took critical damage and began to drift, her captain had a choice. Abandon ship, or use the last of the reactor power to ram a Krevnash dreadnought. He chose the ram. 300 humans died. 2,000 Krevnash died with them. The captain's last transmission was, "For the prisoners. For Valor II. For every innocent they killed." When a Krevnash commander asked for terms of surrender, the human response was simple. "No. You must accept surrender," the Krevnash protested. "That is the law of war. You should have thought of that before you executed prisoners," came the reply. "You wanted to teach us fear. Congratulations. Now, we'll teach you regret." The battle for Valor II lasted 8 days. When it ended, no Krevnash remained alive on the planet. The humans had been thorough, methodical, merciless. Talmira stood in the ruins of the city where the prisoners had died. Human Marines were building a memorial, a simple stone wall, with 300 names carved into it. "I don't understand you," she told Admiral Chen. "You save our children. You rebuild our homes. You sing lullabies to orphans. But you show no mercy to your enemies." Chen looked at the memorial. "We show mercy to those who deserve it. We show love to those who need it. And we show fury to those who hurt the people we've decided to protect. That's the human way, first speaker." "But which are you really?" Talmira asked. "The humans who save children? Or the humans who give no quarter?" "And," Chen met her eyes, "we're both. That's what makes us dangerous. We can be your best friend or your worst nightmare. And you don't get to choose which one we are. Your actions do." That night, Talmira watched human soldiers teaching Valorian children to play Earth games. The same soldiers who had fought with cold brutality hours before. She finally understood what they had summoned. Not protectors, not predators. They had summoned friends, and there was nothing more dangerous in the universe than a human who had decided you were their friend. Because humans would burn entire worlds for their friends. 6 months had passed since humanity answered the call. The war had transformed from a Krevnash conquest into a human advance. World by world, the swarm lost ground. But the cost was terrible. 12,000 humans dead, 3 ships destroyed, countless wounded. And still the Krevnash refused to surrender. Colonel Amanda Price sat in her command post on the front lines of Valorian Prime. The planet had been under siege for 2 years. Liberating it would be the hardest battle yet. Intelligence reports, she said to her staff. Captain Lee pulled up the data. The Krevnash have fortified every city. They're using Valorian civilians as shields. They know we'll hesitate to fire on civilian populations. They're right, Amanda said. We will hesitate. But we won't stop. She looked at her assembled officers. Human and Valorian both. Now. The Valorians had learned to fight alongside the humans. Learned to stand firm. Learned that prey could become predators when they had the right teachers. We're going to do something the Krevnash won't expect, Amanda said. We're going to make them afraid. Over the next weeks, humanity unveiled weapons the galaxy had never seen. Not more powerful weapons. More psychological ones. They hacked Krevnash communications and broadcast messages. Images of destroyed Krevnash fleets. Videos of captured commanders. Fake intelligence suggesting the swarm queens were abandoning their soldiers. You're lying to them, Talmira said when she learned about it. Yes, Captain Kumar admitted. It's called psychological warfare. We make them doubt. Make them question. Make them afraid. Fear is a weapon like any other. That's cruel, Talmira said quietly. Kumar nodded. War is cruel, first speaker. We're just efficient at it. The human assault on Valorian Prime began at dawn. Dropships fell from orbit like rain. Marines hit the ground fighting. And behind them came something new. Human combat engineers had studied captured Krevnash technology. They understood the swarm's biology now. The way their command structure worked. The way their hive ships controlled the warriors through biological signals. Dr. Sarah Chen led the research team. She was a biologist, not a soldier. But she had lost her brother at Valor II. She worked with cold determination. We can reprogram their control systems, she explained to the military command. Take over a hive ship's biological network. Turn their own warriors against them. That's brilliant, Admiral Chen said. That's horrifying, Talmira whispered. They captured a Krevnash hive ship intact. It took 3 weeks of brutal fighting. 500 Marines died taking it. But they got it. Dr. Chen and her team went to work. They cracked the biological control codes, reprogrammed the ship's systems, and activated their weapon. Across Valorian Prime, Krevnash warriors suddenly stopped fighting. Their biological implants, designed to receive orders from the hive ship, now received orders from humans. Stand down, the new orders said. Surrender. The queens have betrayed you. Thousands of Krevnash warriors laid down their weapons, confused and frightened. Their entire biology told them to obey the hive ship. And the hive ship was telling them to give up. Hive Commander Zek watched his army collapse. He sent desperate messages to the swarm queens. The humans have learned to control us. They turned our own biology against us. We must surrender. The queens finally responded. We are opening negotiations. The siege of Valorian Prime ended 40 days after it began. The Krevnash offered unconditional surrender. They expected the humans to demand their extinction. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a space station at the border of former Krevnash territory. Talmira attended as the Valorian representative. Hive Commander Zek represented the swarm, and Ambassador Maria Rodriguez spoke for humanity. Our terms, Zek began, are whatever you demand. We have lost. We accept whatever punishment you decree. Maria looked at him for a long moment. Here's what we demand. First, immediate withdrawal from all occupied territories. Second, reparations to be paid to the Valorian Empire. Third, destruction of all hive ships and biological control systems. Zek nodded. These terms were expected. Harsh, but survivable. Fourth, Maria continued. We want to establish cultural exchange programs. We want to understand why you began this war. We want to help you find better ways to survive. The chamber fell silent. I don't understand, Zek said finally. We're offering you help. Maria explained. Reconstruction aid, technology sharing, integration into a new defensive alliance. The Terran-Valorian-Krev Alliance. Maria. You want to help us? Zek's mandibles clicked in confusion. We killed thousands of your people. Yes, you did, Maria said quietly. And we killed thousands of yours. But continuing to kill accomplishes nothing. We learned that lesson on Earth a long time ago. Yesterday's enemies can become tomorrow's allies. If both sides are willing to try. If. Talmira spoke up. Ambassador. My people will struggle with this. The Krevnash have caused us such pain. I know, Maria said. But pain doesn't heal by causing more pain. It heals by choosing something different. Something better. Zek studied the human carefully. Why would you do this? We are your enemies, Maria smiled. On Earth, we have a saying. Keep your friends close, and your enemies closer. But we have another saying too. The best way to destroy an enemy is to make them a friend. This is manipulation, Zek said. This is opportunity, Maria corrected. You can remain enemies, and we'll fight this war for another decade. Or you can become partners, and we'll all benefit. Your choice. Over the next hours, they hammered out details. The Krevnash would maintain limited military forces. Human observers would ensure compliance. Valorian worlds would receive priority in reconstruction. But the key provision was simple. All three species would share technology, share culture, work together to build something new. At the end, Zek asked the question that had haunted him for months. Why spare us? You had every right to destroy the swarm. We would have destroyed you. Maria looked at him thoughtfully. Because spite isn't the only thing humans do well, Commander. We also do redemption. We've made mistakes in our past. Terrible mistakes. We learned that everyone deserves a second chance. Even species that tried to conquer the galaxy. And if we betray this trust? Zek asked. Maria's expression hardened. Then you'll learn that human mercy has limits. We're giving you friendship. Don't make us remember how good we are at war. The treaty was signed by all three parties. The Krevnash surrendered their weapons. The Valorians began to rebuild. And humanity earned a reputation that would spread across the galaxy. They were the species that won wars so completely that their enemies wanted to join them. Later, Talmira found Maria standing alone, looking at the stars. I saw the casualty reports, Talmira said quietly. 12,000 humans dead, for a species you had never met before we called. 12,000 heroes, Maria corrected. They died protecting others. That's worth something. Was it worth it? Talmira asked. Maria turned to face her. First speaker. Humans have a strange relationship with sacrifice. We'll die for complete strangers if we think it's the right thing to do. We'll cross the galaxy to help people we've never met. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to survive in a big, scary universe. And that's easier to do with friends. Even friends who were once enemies? Talmira asked. Especially those, Maria said. They're the ones who teach us the most about forgiveness. Talmira looked out at the stars, at the space where Krevnash and Valorian and human ships now patrolled together. You truly are a strange species, she said. Thank you. Maria replied with a smile. We try. 2 years after the war ended, Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood at the christening ceremony for the newest ship in the fleet. It hung in orbit above Earth, massive and gleaming. A joint construction project. Human engineering. Valorian design. Krevnash biological technology integrated into every system. I name this ship the Second Chance, Sarah announced. May she represent what we can build together. The crowd cheered. Humans, Valorians, and Krivnash stood side by side. 2 years ago, such a gathering would have been impossible. Now it felt natural. The Terran-Valorian-Krev alliance had changed everything. What began as a defensive pact had become something more. A true union of 3 species learning to trust each other. But trust came slowly. Commander Zek now served as the Krevnash liaison to the Alliance military. He attended meetings with former enemies, planned joint operations with the humans who had defeated his fleets. It was strange, sometimes painful, always educational. Your people are adapting well, Sarah told him at the reception after the ceremony. Zek's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. We are learning. It is difficult. The swarm was built on conquest. Now we must build on cooperation. It feels unnatural. Change always does, Sarah said. But you're doing it. That's what matters. The Krevnash had surprised everyone by embracing their new role. Without the biological control systems, they developed individual personalities, preferences, dreams. They were no longer a swarm. They were people. Some had trouble with it. Violence was so deeply ingrained in Krevnash culture that removing it left a void. Human psychologists worked with them, teaching coping mechanisms, teaching that strength could protect rather than destroy. The Valorians had their own struggles. Centuries of fearing predators could not vanish overnight. But the younger generation was different. They grew up with humans as protectors and Krevnash as partners. To them, predators were not monsters, just different kinds of people. Young Peck, the civilian Maria Santos had rescued, now studied at the Joint Alliance Academy. He learned tactics from human instructors, honor from Valorian teachers, and discipline from Krevnash warriors. My parents feared predators, he told his human roommate. But you taught me that predators aren't evil. They're necessary. Someone has to be willing to fight, as long as they fight for the right reasons. News of the Alliance spread across the galaxy. Other species began to emerge from hiding. Some had watched the war from a distance. Others had deliberately avoided contact with any spacefaring races. All of them were curious about humanity. First came the Quinn, a crystalline species that communicated through light patterns. They had hidden for millennia, afraid of biological species. But they heard about humans, making peace with the Krevnash. If humans can befriend the swarm, their ambassador said, perhaps they can befriend anyone. Then came the Dreth, an aquatic species that had limited space travel. They needed help expanding beyond their water worlds. The Alliance offered technology and support in exchange for cultural exchange. One by one, new species joined. The Alliance grew from 3 species to 7, then 12, then 20. Each brought unique skills. Each learned from the others. But not everyone was happy about humanity's rise. The Zethrak Empire had dominated their region of space for centuries. They were conquerors, like the Krevnash had been, but older, more established, and very interested in testing these upstart humans. They are prey pretending to be predators, the Zethrak Emperor declared. Let them try their mercy and friendship on us. We will show them the weakness of such concepts. The Zethrak sent a fleet to human territory, not to invade, just to intimidate, to show strength. Admiral Chen met them at the border. His fleet was smaller, but he remembered the lessons of the war. You are trespassing in Alliance space, Chen broadcast. Withdraw peacefully, or we will remove you. The Zethrak commander laughed. You and what army? Human. We have conquered 50 worlds. What have you done? We turned our greatest enemy into our closest ally, Chen replied calmly. We won a war so completely that the losers asked to join us. Can you say the same? The Zethrak fleet advanced. Chen's fleet opened fire. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, half the Zethrak ships were destroyed or captured. The rest fled, but Chen did not pursue. Instead, he sent a message to the Zethrak Empire. We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We just want to be left alone. But if you threaten our friends again, we'll show you what humanity learned from fighting the Krevnash. We'll show you why the galaxy should fear humans who have decided to protect someone. The Zethrak never returned. Meanwhile, human archaeologists had made a discovery. They found the facility that housed the beacon, the place where the precursors had built their ancient call for help. Dr. James Liu led the research team. They spent months translating precursor records. What they found changed everything. The precursors knew about Earth, James announced at an Alliance Council meeting. They studied us. They evaluated us. And they deliberately excluded us from their plans. Why? Talmira asked. James pulled up a precursor document. The words glowed in holographic display. Species designation. Human. Exceptional capacity for violence, matched only by exceptional capacity for compassion. Escalation risk unacceptable. They will either unite the galaxy or destroy it. No intermediate outcome probable. Recommendation. Quarantine. The council chamber fell silent. They thought we were too dangerous, Sarah said quietly. They thought you were too unpredictable, James corrected. They couldn't control what you would become, so they left you out entirely. But the beacon called us anyway, Zek observed, because it malfunctioned. James explained. The targeting system corrupted over time. It sent the signal to the wrong species, to the one species the precursors had explicitly avoided. And thank the stars it did, Talmira said. If it had called the intended protectors, whoever they were, I don't think we would have gotten what we needed. What did you need? A new council member asked. She was Quinn, her crystalline body refracting light. We needed friends, Talmira said simply. Not protectors, not saviors. Friends who would stand with us, fight with us, rebuild with us. The precursors designed protectors to guard prey. But humans taught us to stop being prey, to stand up, to fight back. That's worth more than any protection. 80. The council agreed to leave the beacon active, but they reprogrammed it with a new message. 1. Written by all three founding species of the Alliance. In a galaxy of predators and prey, humanity taught us a third option. Partnership. Any species seeking help need only call. We answer. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, as friends. The beacon sent its new message into the void. Across the galaxy, species received it. Some with hope, some with skepticism, some with fear. 1 month later, the first response came. A distress call from a species called the Vorn. They were under attack. They needed help. The Alliance answered immediately. Human, Valorian, and Krevnash ships jumped together toward the signal. Ready to help. Ready to fight. Ready to offer friendship to strangers. On the bridge of the Second Chance, Admiral Okonkwo looked at her mixed crew. Humans at weapons. Valorians at communications. Krevnash at tactical. Set course for Vorn space, she ordered. Let's show the galaxy what the Alliance stands for. As they jumped into hyperspace, she thought about the journey that had brought them here. A broken beacon, a desperate call, a species summoned by mistake. But maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe the precursors had been wrong. Maybe humanity was exactly what the galaxy needed. Not perfect, not peaceful, but willing to fight for what was right, and willing to forgive when the fighting was done. On Valoria Prime, Talmira stood with Ambassador Rodriguez at the repaired beacon facility. They watched the ancient device pulse with light, sending humanity's message across the stars. Do you ever regret it? Maria asked. Activating the beacon? Calling for help? Talmira thought about the war, the deaths, the pain, but also the friendships, the growth. The future they were building. Together. No, she said finally. We called for protectors and got humans instead. At first, I thought that was a disaster. Now I realize it was exactly what we needed. Why? Maria asked. Because protectors keep you safe, Talmira explained. But they keep you weak. You rely on them. You never learn to stand on your own. Humans didn't protect us. You stood beside us. You taught us to protect ourselves. And then, you stayed to help us build something better. Maria smiled. That's what friends do. Yes, Talmira agreed. She looked at the stars, at the vast galaxy full of species they had yet to meet. And I think the galaxy needs more friends like humanity. The beacon pulsed again. Somewhere out there, someone was receiving the message, learning that they were not alone. That help was available. That friendship was possible. And somewhere, humans were preparing to answer that call. Because that's what humans did. They answered. They helped. They became friends with anyone brave enough to call. The galaxy would never be the same.